Rachel, and today I'm going to talk to you about the worst books that I read in 2021. This is the first video I'm filming this year, which is hilarious that it's like, let's start the year off with shit. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's a trilogy, that's a duology. So there's over 10 books on this list, but I'm just gonna get out of the way real quick the disappointing things that I already did in-depth reviews for. So first of all, Untitled Tyranny by JESS CORBAN. I have like 2 videos on and another one coming because I did decide to read the sequel. It was bad. And you know what's funny is that the writing, after reading other books, J.M. Buckler, I realized that the writing itself is not terrible. It's that this series was Christian fundamentalism masquerading as YA dystopian, and the author went out of her way, the author of JESS CORBAN, I already talked about this, went out of her way to do subterfuge and try to preach. My camera just cut me off and was like, bitch, you're out of control, you're rambling. So Untitled Tyranny is a duology called the Nidé Rising duology by JESS CORBAN, and what she did was Christian evangelical subterfuge, which she wrote a series, tried to play it off as if, and herself, she created this entire persona as if she was this non-fundy writer in order to distance herself from her other works, which advocate for all kinds of fundy bullshit, including but not limited to conversion therapy and advocating for non-medical, non-scientific ways to deal with self-harm and addiction and things like that. So she tried to distance herself. I found out and I was like, hey, this is a thing, and then I made videos about it and I read her book, and the writing itself is not bad, but the overly bashed over the head message is a lot. And this series is about a world where this vaccine was created to get rid of testosterone in babies, and then these women got together and said no more sexual abuse, and they like got rid of testosterone with this vaccine, and then a bunch of them went to bullies, and which has my headband been fucked up this whole time, and they were like, let's further colonize this already colonized area. They seeing that women are abused, they're like, we're gonna create our own society called Nidé, which is Eden backwards on purpose. And they create this society where women are in control, and they release this like virus that, I don't know, men are basically no more. The only men that are alive are gentled, which means they're given a vaccine at birth. But then we're following our main character, whose name I forget and don't care about. Oh, Reina, that's right, she was named Queen. There was a lot of Spanish words for, you know, colonizer reasons. Anyway, all this to say, this book was about Christian fundamentalism's idea of what feminism is and how men and women are supposed to work together, and feminism doesn't want that, but also she acknowledges that men are being emasculated, apparently. She says that men are being emasculated and women are being abused, and how can we come together to fix that? That's what she said, like the actual author. And it's like, men being emasculated is definitely not why we have problems. Men being in power. And anyway, all this to say, that was shit. I'm glad it's over. I hope she never writes again. I know that I kind of fucked her over as far as her like persona that she tried to sell books on. In the book community, at least, the thread I made about this sort of took off, and a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people went and 1-starred, which I have weird, complicated thoughts on. And all this to say, her book did not do what she was hoping it would do, which I am glad for, because subterfuge is lying. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that it didn't change anything. Like, it doesn't change anything. Christians are probably going to look at that and be like, look how persecuted we are. And also, like, I got so many, oh my god, I got so many comments from fundies being so mad at me on Goodreads for saying, hey, this is written by somebody who's advocated for conversion therapy, making it homophobic. The villain in the series is the only gay person. And they were like, so how's it homophobic? I'm like, I did a whole video, what the fuck? They came out to argue with me, and I'm like, go away, and they wouldn't leave me alone. Anyway, Anyway, all this to say, that was one of the worst things I read this year, but that's not surprising. There's like a chunk, there's, you know, Jess Corban, J.M. Buckler, and Laura Gallier. Gallier? Their books sucked, and I read them and I did reviews on them, and they're all linked down below. J.M. Buckler was the bookstagrammer who did Stupidity and fucked around and found out. And I read her whole trilogy. It was so bad. So bad. It didn't make any sense. It was just like a mashup of things she stole from Jennifer L. Armentrout and Stephanie Meyer, and just sort of like mishmashed together into this weird sci-fi, almost somewhat fantasy thing that didn't make sense and was terribly written, and described things as, my favorite was the scentless smell of winter. And had a lot of pop culture references and just stupidity, and they are needlessly long. So all those are linked down below. And then there was Laura Gallier, who is a fundamentalist evangelical who also wrote a Christian book, also by Tyndale, same Wander, same publisher as Jess Corban. But the difference is that Laura knows that she was trying to preach, and she specifically wanted to preach about spiritual warfare. So fun. And she did. She certainly did. She argued with me about it on Twitter. That was fun. Anyway, it's been an interesting year with like weird authors. I'm still going to do Does This Deserve 1 Star, and I'm still going to read and review fundy literature, but yeah, I don't really feel the need to talk. I've already talked about it for several minutes. What the fuck? I don't really feel the need to talk about those like the way that I'm going to talk about the other books that I read that were disappointing, because I didn't think that these next few would disappoint me. I went into them thinking they would be between, you know, 3 to 5 maybe stars, and instead, woof, oh wow, okay, no. That's not what happened. So, alright, let's talk about Winter Song by S.J. Jones. So Winter Song by S.J. Jones is like a Goblin King retelling, and our main character, I obviously on this channel never remember named characters' names, so I'm going off what I remember and what I have not repressed about this awful book. This book was like, girl's sister gets taken by Goblin King, so girl goes to save her sister, but she's also kind of in love with Goblin King, and this was needlessly angsty, super boring, uncomfortable in the like oddest way, a little bit racist. It was so bad. I read it for RC's book club, Finish That Series book club, and we did not finish that series. We decided to say fuck that series, and we went and read a standalone after instead called The Winter Duke, which was a delight, an absolute delight of political intrigue and sapphic vibes. That was great. Winter Song was bad, and I never do well with books about music typically. For some reason those are kind of like womp womp for me. Even though I've read quite a bit of them, it's rare for me to like a book that's about music, so that was a part of Winter Song and I didn't like it. My husband's calling me. So I don't recommend anybody read Winter Song by S.J. Jones for any reason. There's nothing about it that you can't find in a better book. It's just bad. The next one might be a little controversial. Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay was a uniquely bad experience for me. So the thing about Roxane Gay is that she and I don't agree on a lot of things. She's also kind of a dick about things. Like, she's very gatekeepy, and that came out a lot in this book. So for instance, she wants to like gatekeep what rape means, and that made me deeply uncomfortable. I understand that she is a survivor of sexual assault herself. However, like, similar to other things, like, I had 2 miscarriages, so I can speak on my miscarriage experience, but I can't speak for other people, and it's not right for me to gatekeep how other people feel about their miscarriages. That's kind of how Roxane is about sexual assault, survival, and rape, and I don't know how to explain that to you without telling you to just read the book. It also has like an entire part about Scrabble, and it just was not good, didn't have a point. There was a couple other things that made me really uncomfortable, like her talking about trigger warnings was really shitty, and just really lacked understanding of why trigger warnings are important for some people who read books. And again, that goes back to like her need to gatekeep terms. And honestly, that kind of came out again recently on Twitter. She was mad because the term gaslighting was used in that new Lucille Ball movie. And to me, like, I just don't care, like, I don't care personally. But Roxanne was like so annoyed that this term that did not exist back then was used in this movie. And I'm like, I feel like this is a pattern of behavior for Roxanne where it's like, I found a term that I can decide when it's appropriate to use and when it's not appropriate to use, and I'm going to just hone in on this. And it's like, Roxanne, relax. This is stupid. This is a stupid thing for you to like dictate who gets to use it when. So she's done that for gaslighting, but also sexual assault, rape particularly, and trigger warnings. So she just kind of makes me uncomfortable with her gatekeeping, and that really came out in this book, and I don't think I'm gonna read anything else from Roxane Gay because of that. Also, the Scrabble was just, oh my god, there was just no reason for me to hear that much about Scrabble. The next thing, the next book is, okay, I tried to read 2 Riley Sager books this year. I finished one, which was Home Before Dark, and it just was not good. It wanted both to be, it has very much a similar premise to Haunting of Hill House, but also like it knew that it was too similar to Haunting of Hill House, so Riley Sager was like, how can I change this so it's not exactly the same, but I can still write this book? That's what it felt like to me. It's like, oh, family was remodeling this house, it became haunted, there are secrets, and then they return to the house years later, or one of them returns to the house years later to, you know, fix it up and solve the mystery, blah blah blah. And it was so stupid and boring as opposed to Hill House, which is like peak entertainment and feelings. I felt nothing. So then I tried to start another Riley Sager book, which was Survive the Night, and I got past the first chapter and I was like, I guarantee you I know how this ends and I'm not gonna read it. Sure enough, I did figure out the ending. According to Allie, I did figure out the ending. So yeah, I think that I'm all done trying to read Riley Sager. Home Before Dark was stupid and boring and wanted to be Hill House, and it's not Hill House, and it sucks, and don't read it. I mean, read it if you want to, but I don't recommend it. All right, so now we're getting into the top 3. There would be more if I wasn't so keen on DNFing this last year. I DNF'd almost 20 things. I was just like, I'm not finishing this. This is stupid. This has a sentence I don't like. I'm done with it. Done. So because of that, there could have been more worst of the year books, but I saved you and myself by DNFing. Unfortunately, I did not DNF the next 3. I wish that I had never picked them up. They were incredibly stupid, and I have regrets, deep regrets. So the first one is All Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban. Okay, so this one, I don't even remember exactly what the pitch is. It's like a group of kids gets told to go to this room. They all get invited to this like thing, and then they find out that they're locked in and they have to like decide which one of them is gonna die. And it was okay until the reveal. It was just okay. Like, I didn't really give a shit, and I would probably have given it like 2.5 stars. Instead, it gets like 1 and 1. It gets 1 star because the reveal. And if you want to read this, I will put spoiler until blah blah here. It's that in the end, you follow the main character, you find out that it was her all along. So she had been pretending to everyone else and to you, the reader, that she was also a victim of whoever, and somebody did end up, like, I think dead or gravely injured. I can't remember, I blocked it out. And in the end, she literally tells her best friend and her ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend, crush, and they're like, oh, that's fine, somebody else took the blame. And it's like, what the fuck was this book? What the fuck? up, you find out it was her all along, which was incredibly stupid because it renders the entire rest of the book moot because you've been listening to her say, who would do this? Oh my god. And she's just been lying to you the whole time? That's dumb. That's boring. It should have been not told from her perspective. It should have been told from, you know, like you as the reader have to figure out who's doing this. But instead it just said, you know, fuck logic. Fuck that. Stupid. I'm never gonna read another Diana Urban after that. I was so mad. I was like, this is bullshit. The next one, oh, this was so disappointing. The next one is League of Liars by Astrid Schulte. So this was pitched as like Six of Crows meets, I want to say, Ocean's 11 or something like that. It's like Prison Break. It says League of Liars, so you're thinking like it's a, you know, a group of friends doing friend shit. It's not. And the way that this was pitched was that it's like a group of people who are a League of Liars who are supposed to be breaking out of prison. That does not happen until like the 80%. Like, you go through an entire thing of world building. You go through like an entire trial, a murder trial. And then you get to the point where they're like, oh shit, maybe we're gonna have to break this person out of prison. What? And it's like, and then they're like, oh, this other person's here. We should break them out too. It's like, we're 80% in. What the fuck? What the fuck? I thought this was the whole plot. And it was really disappointing because it actually had shadow magic in it. So shadows are like, you can tap into them and you can use them. They like give you the ability to do certain magic things, right? But unfortunately, like, this magic comes from like a portal to a different world. It was really odd and convoluted, but that was fine. Like, I could deal with that. But then it's like the shadow magic was a disappointment, which was shitty because that's my favorite. And then it literally ends, and it just ends. Like, you get no closure. You have a lot of questions. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part is that this was pitched as something it wasn't. That really is annoying for me. And that's been like a regular thing with YA lately, is that a lot of books are getting pitched as things like on NetGalley that I apply for. And then I read them, I'm like, that's not what this is. Not this. What? You only spend like a little tiny chunk of time with these people who are supposed to be a League of Liars. They're not. The fact that it was supposed to be certain things and then it wasn't, and it was compared to certain things, it was not those things, and then also it was given a synopsis which doesn't really tell you exactly what happens, and then also it felt like a prologue to a different story, and this is, I'm pretty sure, a standalone, which is fine because I wasn't invested enough to continue anyway. It just, everything was a miss here. Everything was a miss. It was not good. It was just not good. And then the last one, oh boy, where do I even begin? Okay, so A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, right, was a great book, a really enjoyable YA thriller, murder, mystery, suspense, and it's like mixed media format. I loved that book. I loved it. The sequel I loved a little bit less, but I still enjoyed. And then the third book, As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. First of all, this threw out the mixed media format entirely, which that sucks. I really don't know where to begin. So Pippa, our main character, has a lot of trauma from, you know, all the shit she's been involved in, solving murders, being a part of them. Her dog got, and so she's like, I'm gonna solve one last murder mystery, and then I'm done. And then she starts to get stalked. Of course, the police, once again, do not believe her. And so the entire book is Pippa gets stalked, Pippa gets kidnapped, she's about to die. You figure out pretty early on who the serial killer is, and then instead of running away when she gets a chance, she's literally on her way away to go to get help, right? And she's like, wait, nobody's gonna believe me. And it's like, bitch, you have evidence. And instead of doing that, she decides, you know what, I'm gonna kill them and cover it up. And if that sounds cool, I promise you it's not. It was stupid, and I was so brokenhearted as soon as that happened. She kills this dude, and then the rest of the book is just her covering it up and getting away with it, and being suspected but never getting like in trouble for killing a serial killer who was gonna kill her. This series went so downhill so quickly. It was just like, we were cruising, I took a little dip and skirt, It was so bad, so bad, so no. So that was objectively terrible, very disappointing. Cannot believe that that was written by the same person as the first book. So disappointing. So those were all of the worst books in 2021. I sincerely hope that this year I have a better time. I'm sure that there will be some 1 stars, unfortunately. I try so hard to just DNF so I don't have to make this video at all. Not that it's not enjoyable to talk about books that are absolute shit, but I would like to read nothing but like 4 stars the whole year. Than have bad reading experiences, especially with books that I thought I would enjoy, like League of Liars and Bad Feminist. Really just okay. Anyway, yep. So those are all the worst books. Let me know if you read any of these. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.